Hello YouTube, my name is Alexander. I go to the University of Miami in South Florida, and this is my first video of my YouTube channel that will cover a lot of the 2024 race and beyond, the political landscape and what's going on inside our country and our nation and the world, politically and geographically. I wanted to start off with talking about some of the State of the Union that occurred this Thursday, March 7th. I want to talk about a little bit about what Biden had mentioned, his rights, his wrongs, and then later I'll touch a bit upon the 2024 race and what's going on politically, in which I will address in more details in later videos. So from the start, Biden mentions Ukraine right away, as we can see over here in the transcript. He mentions Ukraine before even mentioning a lot about the country as a whole, US. This is the State of the Union, not the State of Ukraine. So I definitely think that was a big mistake that he made. I don't know why he mentions Ukraine really right from the start instead of the US, but it does not help at all in his fight for his own party, party's popularity. As we will come to see, his State of the Union is much of a campaign speech instead of a unifying speech. And as we can see over here, he seems to mention Trump right from the start, and he will continue to mention Trump in his speech like a lot. And I don't know why he continued to mention Trump, but it is once again over here talking about how Trump bows down to Putin, saying it's unacceptable, it's dangerous. He goes on to talk about January 6th and the lies, and once again how it's a threat to democracy. Trump once again continues to mention Trump. And eventually he'll go on to talk about the economy, how his economy is doing amazing. But if we check here this chart explains the real wages against inflation. And January right here, this bar, this is exactly when Trump had left office and where Biden came in. And as we can see from the start, inflation skyrocketed and the hourly earnings were completely outpaced by it. And it was real average hourly earnings were negative throughout most of Biden's presidency so far. And only recently has it gone over 0%. And still, it's 0.5% as of September last year, which is nothing compared to what Trump left office, which is plus 4%. The inflation right now still stands at 3.7% about. And Trump, his whole presidency had kept it under 2%. So that's definitely a hiccup by Biden, a complete lie. And the American people will definitely not believe that, because, you know, we see that the stock market is up. It is doing better. It is at its all-time high, quote unquote. But that's not what the American people feel. Everything's still super expensive, and they can't afford anything. Groceries, gas, anything. It's not affordable, and it's not going to work. Congresswoman from Georgia, Marjorie Taylor Greene, had called upon President Biden to mention Laken Riley's name, a nursing student from University of Georgia that had been murdered by an illegal immigrant. And he proceeds to mention her name from all the crisis, but pronounces it wrong, says Lincoln instead of Laken, and then proceeds to say, but how many thousands of people are being killed by illegals? Basically saying that it doesn't matter that an American citizen had been killed by an illegal, because American citizens are always killed by illegals every single day, which is ludicrous in itself, does not completely make any sense at all. But anyways, shifting to the 2024 race as a whole, we can take a look at some of the recent polls from two main sources. If we go to the polls, the national polls, we can see that Trump has a 1.8% lead nationally, and he has held a consistent lead since September of last year, 2023. In looking at the polls as a whole, most of them do show it in his favor. There are a couple here and there that do show Biden in a slight lead, but the reason why Trump the reason why it's amazing that Trump's even in the lead as a whole is because back, as we can see, back 4 years ago and 8 years ago, Biden had a 6.5% lead in this day exactly, and Clinton had a 6.3% lead. But if we click here and see, the final result was that Trump outperformed the polls in 2016, and he outperformed the polls in 2020 by a vastly larger amount. So what does this show? This shows the potential that Trump will once again outperform the polls as he had done previous times twice. We can check over here, Biden's approval rating. What does this mean? He is underwater by 16.8%. That is horrible and has continued to trend down since he even took office. He had started about positive 17, 18. Now he's at negative 17, 18 at times. And that's absolutely horrible for his re-election campaign. He is extremely disapproved on many issues such as the economy, foreign policy, inflation, crime over here, and the worst of all, immigration, where he is disapproved of by 66% of the country. We can also check this other metric over here, direction of the country. How do Americans think the country is heading? How do they think it's going? As we can see here, only 23% of Americans say that the country is on the right direction. 67 say it's the wrong direction. And this has been increasing steadily over the past couple years. Back over here, when Biden had taken office, Americans, hey, maybe, this is good. Biden's a good president. It's going to be a fresh new start. But as Biden's presidency went on, it continued to get worse and worse, reaching even a high point here where 18% said the country was going in a right direction. Jumping to another website that also covers polls nationally and statewide, they show that Trump has a 1.5% lead based on 590 polls, and that Trump has also had a consistent lead about from 1 to 2, sometimes 3% since September. Very similar to what this pollster, this website has been saying, Real Clear Politics. They've been showing the exact same thing. So to see the alignment of different polling websites is absolutely credible and establishes their credibility as a whole. We can also check statewide polls on both sites. So we can check first with Arizona. What has Arizona been up to? It shows that Trump has a 5.5% lead in the polls. What does DDH2 The Hill show? They show that Trump has also 5.1% lead based on 2027 polls. And this is significant because if we go back to the 2020 election, Trump barely lost the state. He lost the state by 11,000 votes. That is extremely close. And if the nation shifts as a whole that far much to the right, then we're going to see Trump picking off Arizona. We can go next to Nevada. In Nevada, Trump has a 7.7% lead. Absolutely insane to speak. I've never seen such a big lead in Nevada for Republicans. If we go to over here, also Trump has a 5.7% lead based on 19 polls. And if we check the 2020 results, Trump had lost the state by around 2 percentage points, which is about 30,000 votes in raw totals. And this also shows similar results, how close it is. We can check one more state out of these. We can check Wisconsin. Wisconsin on RCP, Real Clear Politics, Trump leads by 1 point. And in Wisconsin, on the Hill, if I find it, Trump leads by 2.4%. And this is a state where Biden barely flipped back from 2016. This is a state where he won by only 20,000 raw votes, and a state where that's been trending heavily to the Republicans. And this is a very significant state because if we check back into history how much they've overestimated Democrats, the final prediction had been Biden plus 6.7 in 2020, and he only won it by zero point 0.7, which is a huge underestimation of Trump. Same thing in 2016. As we can see here, they predicted in 2016 Clinton would win Wisconsin by 6.5%. Trump ended up winning it by 0.7%. Once again, a huge underestimation of Trump. And this is very profound in other Rust Belt states, Michigan, Pennsylvania, Ohio, Iowa, and sometimes Minnesota. Pollsters always underestimate Republicans, especially Trump. So that is definitely something to keep an eye on going around in this election cycle, and what we will continue to keep an eye on in the next coming months. Anyways, this is all for today's video. I will continue to cover this election more. In next videos, I will go into more details, be more specific about the election as a whole, politically and geopolitically. I'll analyze more data points about where this country is heading and what predictions I might have for this election. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Bye.